It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
So let's talk about Bo. This one is you, man. Holy cow. When I saw the slide of this one, I was like, I don't even remember this fat.
Okay, so there's some things I'm not proud. Like the TL, I get it's learning, but I am not proud of that. This one, I'd say I'm not so proud of. Because, now I think we all, if we really think about this, we've all fallen prey to some fashion trends in our day that perhaps we should not have fallen prey to. This one for me, in middle school, I'm thinking like 6th to 8th grade-ish, was especially egregious. Now, I mentioned this to the team. A lot of the team didn't know about this, so maybe this was regionally where I grew up. But I'll be curious to hear in the comments if you had kids that were in that age or if you were that age.
Show them the picture. I think you're so embarrassed you're not showing them the picture.
It was the Jinko phase. It's
Jinko jeans.
Brand of jeans that were like egregiously baggy. Like they covered up your entire shoe. You couldn't see. When I was in middle school, this was all the rage. You wanted the big, huge, baggy jeans. Looking back at this, I'm sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? What were my grandparents thinking, even letting me like go buy these jeans? But it was the fad. It was the phase. It was the thing that was popular. And what I realized was the reason I wanted these jeans wasn't because of the utility of them. It wasn't because I could run fast in them or jump high or do anything special. It was only because it was what was popular and it's what all the other kids were doing.
Just to make a description here, because we have podcast listeners that listen to this, they don't get the visual. These are denim blue jeans that bow out. They're not even bell bottoms. These things, like you could sweep with how wide. I mean, I got to say that on that guy's jeans on the right, those have to be 18 to 24 inches
it's unbelievable.
Wide at the bottom. So these things are huge. What I've realized when I see these pictures and I find out that Bo actually participated in these trends, I saved you. Just you finding me in the wilderness. I pulled you out of the woods and saved you from bad decision making. If you're falling prey to trends like this.
You did.
So it is one of those things where, but I think there's a big, if you think about the behavioral economics where we see this is of course herd mentality because nobody in their just sane mentality buys jeans that have a 24-inch opening at the bottom because if anything, if it rains outside, you probably can't move because it's just too heavy to move your legs at that point.
And this is ridiculous too. Now, the bottoms always got wet because you're just trampling on it. It was just horrible. It made no sense.
So read the definition because I think this one's so powerful. Read the definition what herd mentality is.
So herd mentality is when we would rather travel with a herd even if they are headed for a cliff, even if they are making poor decisions, even if they are going in the wrong direction. We would rather blend in and go with the herd. And we know that in most circumstances in life, that's just not a good idea. And we have found, especially in the financial world, in your personal financial life, it is not what you want to fall prey to.
You want to be a contrarian. And I'm going to go ahead because we've got the shortened quote. I'm going to read the whole quote from one of the greatest investors ever. And this is the full quote. You'll recognize it immediately. Investors should remember that excitement and expenses are their enemies. And if they insist on trying to time their participation in equities, they should try to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy only when others are fearful. That's, of course, from the 2004 letter to shareholders from the Oracle from Omaha, Mr. Warren Buffett.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And we tell this to our clients, to prospects, to you guys all the time. When it comes to investing, if you can master this one thing, this one contrarian idea, you're going to set yourself up for success. Now, this is not what this says. Hey, you just mentioned, hey, markets are getting, hitting all-time highs. Well, if you're in a market that's constantly expanding, constantly growing, you're going to go through some all-time highs. It doesn't mean that you just have to sell everything and wait for the downturn. We've already proven that that's sort of a futile exercise. It means you have to have your risk, your allocation right, and you have to recognize both opportunities that present themselves. I'm thinking like Great Recession, downturns like, in the pandemic when we saw a big downturn go on earlier this year. And then you have to think about things you need to be nervous about. In 2007, there were some cracks in the wall of worry that you could be thinking about.
There's a visual for this. We actually show them the cycle of market emotions. FTE Daniel put this together because this is the thing. Now, look, I think it's an ever-expanding economy. So this is just showing you the yo-yo in the short term, whereas you can go through a cycle. But pay attention to people typically. When you hear the term buy low, sell high, that's what the goal is. But most people actually do the exact opposite, is that they will buy high and then they sell low because look at what happens there on the cycle of market emotions. At the tippity top, that's where you're going to dinner parties and others, and everybody's telling you how much money they're making in Bitcoin or individual stocks. And people go, wow, I'm so smart. I'm so good at this. And that's your point of maximum financial risk. It's when, and that's the herd mentality. Everybody wants in when everybody's making money.
That's right.
But then look what happens in the economic cycle. When we go through a recession, when we go through a depression of some sort, people go, got to get to the exits, got to get the heck out of this thing. And that's where you see capitulation, you see depression, and that's actually the maximum point of opportunity. But you know what? You can't give it away at that point. And that's why it is the maximum point of opportunity. So if you can be aware of this, understand herd mentality and be a contrarian, it will set you up for long-term success.
Now, somebody in here just said, yeah, I just wish I could know when the tops and the bottoms were. Yeah, you and me both. We'd all be very, very wealthy. If you're someone who's in the accumulation phase, a really good way to not have to get it exactly right is to be a constant saver. Have a dollar cost averaging plan going on, whether that's in your employer-sponsored 401k or 403b. Or whether that's contributing money to a Roth IRA or building money in a taxable account. If you're constantly saving, constantly putting dollars into your army of dollar bills, you will be taking advantage of that point of maximum financial opportunity when it presents itself.
Well, I've even got here's a strategy that will work. If we ever, whenever, as soon as we hit bear market status, guys, just go ahead and promise yourself you're going to go ahead and have the fortitude that instead of trying to figure out how you're getting out, that you're going to be a financial mutant, you're going to be an optimist, and you're going to increase your monthly investment. You're going to figure out a way that in this downturn, you're going to figure out how you get more money, go against the herd, be that contrarian, and maximize your potential and opportunity.
I love it.